tell us a little bit about yourself, your district, your occupation.
Well, the district I represent, District 15A, involves the largest community of St. Cloud. It covers most of the geographic area of St. Cloud, although it carves out the core city and the east side. The rest of it's in my district, along with Way Park, St. Augusta, and Rockville. Rockville is the largest city geographically in the state of Minnesota. And St. Cloud was just identified as the second most livable place in the world. Received the award in London. And so just very proud of the community and the area I represent.
And what do you do for an occupation outside of being a legislator?
I work for Coburn's Incorporated as a Communications and Consumer Affairs Director. Coburn's is based out of St. Cloud, 6,000 employees in 5 states, 34 stores, grocery stores around the upper Midwest. Wonderful family-owned business, originally family-owned, now employee-owned, based out of St. Cloud. They started with 1 store in the 1920s, and now they've grown to what they are now, just a fabulous company to work for. On top of that, I've got a wife and 5 kids, and I have the distinction, I may be the only one in the legislature who's got this distinction of having 5 kids, and one at every level of the education system. We've got a preschooler, we've got an elementary school child, a middle school child, high school, and a daughter who's in college. So getting a real experience of the entire education system right now, both public and private.
So what led you to pursue public service?
Well, I spent 9 years on the St. Cloud City Council. I ended up as vice president of the council before I decided to run. For me, it's always been about giving back. I think I grew up in a household that really had a commitment to community service and civic involvement. I've always believed that democracy is a participant sport, it's a contact sport. You got to get involved if you want to see anything good come out of it. I've never been content to sit on the sidelines and play armchair quarterback. So that's what really led to my involvement. Several years ago, probably more years than I care to remember, I decided to go to a precinct caucus and thought, let's just see how involved an average Joe can get in this process. And the truth is, nobody ever said no to me. They always said, yeah, we appreciate your participation and your energy and your talent. And so I've been very privileged and honored to have the support of my constituents and the opportunity to serve them.
What types of legislation would you like to see achieved this year?
A whole lot of them. Some of them may get passed, some of them may not. The priorities that I see are really the ones that I think my constituents and most Minnesotans see. Education is very important. Healthcare is going to be a big issue in this coming session. We have to watch how we spend our money. We realize we're in a deficit situation, and it's not out of line to say, what are we getting for our money and how much are we willing to spend and how much tax burden can Minnesotans bear, and be very careful about how we spend dollars. So that'll be a very important factor. Transportation is in that mix. A lot of people are very concerned about transportation funding in the state. I've positioned myself with the committee assignments, commission involvements, working group involvements, primarily in healthcare and education. And I think that's where Minnesotans want to see energy put. And so I've purposely put myself in a position to try to make a difference in those areas.
When the end of session rolls around in May, what will determine whether or not you've been a successful legislator?
I hope the first measure of success is, do my constituents feel that they've been represented well? Do I listen well to my constituents? Do I respond to their needs and concerns? Am I representing those well here at the state legislature? On bigger issues, I'm really hoping we get something done on health care reform, and something meaningful. I'm personally very much opposed to a government takeover of health care. I believe there's a lot that we can and should be doing in the private sector, consumer-driven reforms to health care. I look back at the early 90s and the health care reforms that were discussed back then, things that we kind of threw out with the bathwater, I think, over the last several years, and are now revisiting, things like a medical home model, that people have a place that coordinates their care and gives them that systemness. I think that's going to be very important. Cost containment is important, but of course the biggest driver of healthcare costs is utilization around chronic disease. So how can we keep Minnesotans healthy in the first place? Not only do we all want to be healthy, if you ask somebody, do you want to be healthy or sick, the answer is obvious. And then by doing that, we also save a lot of money in the system. Those are a couple of simple things. Healthcare in itself is a very complex area, but I think we need to focus on on consumer-driven reforms that focus on putting more emphasis on preventive care, on keeping people healthy, the medical home model system, and then try to extend some of our regional centers of healthcare excellence out into the rural areas as a means of providing healthcare to people in rural areas. Very important. Just a few things there. But, education. Would like to see us go beyond dollars. We keep talking about how can we put more dollars into it, as if the only way we're going to improve education is to throw more money at it. And I think most people, when they think further than a few minutes into the issue, realize that it's more than that. It's how do we get parents and guardians engaged with their kids more, because we know where that happens, good academic achievement is a result. Can we hold our school districts accountable to the extent that they're not committing more dollars than they know they're taking in? We have this constant financial crisis with our school districts, and part of the problem is they are committing more resources on a regular basis long term than they have in revenue coming in. And so they're constantly in a position of saying, we need more money. We need to continue to focus on outcomes and innovation in the classroom. You get about a third of your kids who are succeeding, doing very well. You got about a third at the bottom who are not doing well and aren't going to be doing well coming through our school system, and about a third in the middle who are frankly bored and coasting. And that system is not going to make Minnesota or the nation successful against the global marketplace. We see our academic standards nationally plateauing, while other countries, developing in other countries, are skyrocketing. We have to do something about that.
What is the last book that you've read?
Oh my, the last book I read was Be Our Guest, a story about Walt Disney and customer service. It not only applies to my work in the grocery business, but customer service is really what we need to be about in state government. We represent the people, and the government needs to be responsive to the people. It's easy for us here at the legislature to get a bit insular about our little world here and start thinking that we know all the answers or that we have more answers than our constituents do. And the truth is, we have to be customer service oriented when it comes to representing and serving the people of Minnesota.
I've reached the end of my questions. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about?
No, I constantly feel the strength of our democracy, and on the flip side, the weakness of our democracy is the extent to which we all get involved. Apathy is the great enemy, and so I would encourage my own constituents, other people who have interests on issues, contact your legislators, contact me as your representative. Let me know what you're thinking, what you want done down here in St. Paul. That's the essence of democracy. We've got to get more people involved. The more people stay away from the process, the worse it gets, the more it doesn't look like what people want. The more people get involved, the more that moderates and starts looking like something we can all be proud of.
Well, thank you so much for sitting and talking with us.
Thank you.